Bitcoin obviously coming down yesterday, rejecting from some key levels. So in today's show, we're going to have a look at, should you be buying crypto? Should you be looking to load up? If you look at Banter Bubbles, hourly, of course, pushing ahead over there. Daily, still slightly down. All right, let's quickly mute that over there. There we go. Sorry about that technical issue, guys. Let's continue. You can see, of course, yesterday's rejection brought the fear and greed back down to 26 on Bitcoin. You guys know we've been speaking about this a whole lot and what an opportunity this provides in the longer term should the cyclical path continue to follow for crypto and Bitcoin. So we'll have a look at the various coins that are positioned into areas of strength, which you could be establishing zones or entries into, and we'll have a look at whether we could see another short squeeze take place. During yesterday's live session, we were watching the short squeeze live, and then following that, we actually had a long squeeze, bringing price towards the downside. And the way that we can see it is having a look at this chart over here. If you simply just mark off with vertical lines, we can have a look at, for example, the long squeeze that took place over here, pretty much follow that line as price started to move up. Remember, spot was moving up, leverage was moving up, the open interest had pretty much flushed down, and most of the market was running short over here. You can see that by that histogram running to the downside on the funding rate, and then you got the big green spike towards the upside, showing you that there was a short liquidation taking place. And then if you fast forward over here, we saw pretty much exactly the same thing, right? We had the spot starting to come down, leverage starting to come down, also another flush in the open interest. Most of the market at that time was running long, as you can see by the funding rate histogram, and then boom, that gave a long squeeze and longs got liquidated over there. So we could be lining up for round number 2, because as you can see over here, we now have open interest starting to pick back towards the upside. We have both spot and leverage, which is pretty flat over here, most of the market running shorts in this region, and only time will tell when we transition into the next trading session, into the US session. We'll see what happens if things do start to change over there. So a whole lot to look at over there. If you also look over here at the current overhead liquidity, well, you can see 1,200 Bitcoin sell orders currently coming in at $60,500, and you can see that over here on the at least in terms of the liquidation chart, you have that overhead liquidity on both the 24-hour time frame as well as the 12-hour time frame, quite strong over there in terms of liquidity. So what happens is when the market is range bound like it is now, and you're in this choppy environment, price tends to gravitate towards that liquidity, and it will just bounce between the two levels until such time as we gain acceptance above or below critical level. The most important thing that we've been focused on for the more macro high time frame perspective is, of course, this, right? The DXY, which is breaking down from some very, very significant levels. And I said we're waiting for 3 candle closes below this to have a little bit more confidence in this trade idea that the DXY is actually breaking down. And I'm going to show you the significance in relation to the Bitcoin chart and why that's so important. But you can see over here, candle 1, candle 2, and now we have the 3rd candle close, which is open below. Even though it's moving towards the upside, I still consider this the 3rd candle. So even if it closes as a green candle, as long as it closes below this dash line that I have at 102.160, I'll consider that fair game and consider this the very start of a major reversal on the DXY towards the downside, right? Breaking down over there. And this is what you're looking at, right? This is why it's significant. If you have a look at the weekly time frame and you overlay the Bitcoin chart with the DXY, you can see that the breakdowns from those key levels, when you do lead into those breakdowns, that's what drives Bitcoin up for that final peak. If you look at my cursor over here, that was 2017. And then if you look at the next one over here, this was in the 2021 bull run. As soon as the DXY started to break down, that's what drove price up for that final leg up, leading into the peak euphoria stage, which is where most people resonate with the bull market. They don't understand the bull market starts the second the bear market ends, which means we've been in a bull market for a very, very long time. In their mindset, they consider the bull market that time period where coins are doubling almost every single day in the altcoin sector, and that's what you would expect would come as soon as the DXY takes out this low region. So a little bit more work to do, but so far so good. It is looking possible. We're still in our long trade over here that we took on Prime XBT. This, of course, being the S&P 500 trade. Same story over here. Give it about another 2 weeks that you can continue to hold this position into new highs. And at this point, you can at least raise your stops into break even or slight profit if you did take that trade. You have the Dow Jones as well with a big candle over there coming into the 200. That's actually on the monthly scale. So 200-month moving average. Super significant. Big candle towards the upside. Give it a little bit of time, and crypto should start to catch up to both gold and the stock market. Gold trade all in profit over here. Stops have been moved to break even or slight profit, so no chance you can lose on that trade. Pretty much just sit back and enjoy the ride over there. Here's your Bitcoin chart. As we mentioned yesterday, we were coming into major overhead resistance in the form of the 21 weekly exponential moving average, and if price were to reject and come down, well, that's pretty much the area where you would expect it to do that. Right now, it's capped range bound, as mentioned. That's why we focus on the liquidity levels. So expect price to continue to chop around. But one thing that I've just added into my chart today is the potential for this trend line over here, which would start to show, price basing into a symmetrical triangle over here. And that means that chop could probably continue for quite a long period of time, meaning that, you could struggle between this area theoretically all the way into the apex, which could be towards the end of the year. Now, let's hope that doesn't happen, because that's going to mark for an incredibly boring market if you do see price oscillating like this towards the apex, and it only leaves that at the end of the year. But if that does happen, well, the good news is that you'll have a bigger upside move when it does eventually come, because long-term bases create bigger moves when you eventually leave that trading range. So just something that I'm aware of over there as a possibility, currently developing. And, you have your bull market support band, which is essentially the same things over here. I have the 21 weekly exponential moving average. The bull market support band is the 20-week simple moving average and the 21-week exponential moving average. And you can see price chopping about over there. But I've outlined that it's probably most similar to this time period over here, where we did chop for a couple of months underneath it and then eventually reclaimed and led into a markup phase, as opposed to it being, end of a bull market where you drop underneath and then you lead into a bear market. I think that's the less likely case. So timing-wise, well, if you look at this time period over here, it took, if you follow the same trajectory, you'd be looking at about another week or two before you start to reclaim some of those key levels. The key levels remain the same. $63,000 is the number to take out, and that should still allow for us to form this right shoulder of the inverse head and shoulders formation, which is a bullish chart pattern that you're looking for marked move up to about $80,000 when it does eventually break out. So the chop continues, same levels over here. We're right in the middle of the trading range. You need to get above this zone over here, which is $63,000. That'll get you above all the important EMAs and moving averages and start to angle them towards the upside. Otherwise, if you're somebody with mega patience, pretty much just wait for either that or for price to come down, possibly back into the range low area. And then also a reminder, you have 5 hours left to join Whale School. If you do want to join, use the link in the description below. This is the last intake that we'll be having. So please use the link in the description below and make sure that you sign up, join while you still can. I don't even know if it's open because it looks like the little bar's gone. So you may be too late, but use the link below. Try to click sign up over there. Let's see, maybe it takes you through. Now, yesterday in the Whale Room live session, remember Whale School and Whale Room are two different places. Whale Room is going to be the private Discord, which is a paid group, obviously, where we're giving additional alpha and leading people along the way with a full team of amazing traders. And then Whale School is entirely free. In Whale Room yesterday, we discussed on the Zoom session the possibility for hedge short trade because of all the various different reasons, where I just said if price were to be rejecting and we were going to break down in a big way, that's probably the zone that's going to happen in. And this was the trade that we took over here. So we have moved the stops to break even in this particular trade. And if it does spike back above, you can start to look for a new opportunity. In yesterday's live show, I also spoke about why you'd be looking for 3 candle closes above the 200 exponential moving average. That's 1, 2, and 3. And that will start to confirm the acceptance being gained above the key level, which is all a downtrend. This is a downtrending market over here. You do have the presence of higher lows, but we go with the most conservative approach, which would be bearish, right? If you want to be conservative, it's the lower highs, and therefore we consider this still a downtrend until such time as you break above, and therefore that is your hedge short trade, where if it does play out, it's just free insurance hedging against your long positions that you may be holding for the long term, right? Your HODL positions over there. So waiting for price action to unfold over here. I do think the more likely outcome is that you're going to spike up and stop this trade out, and then again you can wait for 1, 2, and 3 closes above. If you do get those 3 closes above, then that's great. You can start to look to flip long. Alternatively, you can just re-attempt to enter into the short trade should acceptance be gained below and the rejection take place at this key level. So we'll keep an eye out on that. That's your 200 EMA and your 50 EMA on the 4-hour time frame. Now, also for those of you out there who love football, by the way, if you do want to win a signed Messi jersey, it's a 1-of-1, the only one in the world that BitGet will have, which is signed. There's a link in the description below. It says here trade to win 100,000 USDT prize pool, and on top of that, you get the Messi jersey. That's currently an initiative from BitGet. Now, what I found interesting is I was studying the charts this morning, looking at the altcoin sector, also looking at the Bitcoin dominance as well as the ETH BTC chart, and you're seeing some very interesting things take place over here. Of course, we know about this rising wedge formation on the weekly time frame for Bitcoin dominance. Remember, when Bitcoin dominance goes down, that's usually where your altcoins rally the hardest. So you're looking for a big breakdown to lower levels, and we've approached the high time frame resistance area coming in around that 60% zone. Now, when you look at the ETH BTC chart, it's pretty much an inverse of that, right? If you have a look at that, just focus on the pink lines. You have a falling wedge formation over here coming into key support, and the sentiment is still pretty short on Ethereum, especially when comparing against Bitcoin. Bitcoin's obviously been the better play for at least 3 years now compared to holding Ethereum, because Ethereum's been down only for about 3 years. But you are reaching the apex of this level, coming into major support, and I do think it's something to pay attention to while the masses remain very, very bearish on Ethereum against Bitcoin, and Ethereum against everything for that matter. You can see just complete inverse chart over here. You expect if this starts to break down, this will start to break towards the upside, and I do think it's something that all of you should have on your watch list. If you look on the right-hand side, it is, of course, the ETH USD pair on the weekly time frame. You did come all the way back down to the bottom of the range, and this was also the breakout level from the ascending triangle, retesting perfectly into that zone. So any dips that occur over here could be longer term decent zones to buy. But the more important thing to be focusing on over here is that if ETH BTC does actually move towards the upside, we know the chances are that the other altcoins are going to outperform Ethereum even more so, because they have a much lower market cap and therefore are easier to move. So it's worth having a look at this as well, the altcoin season index. And pretty much when you're down in the deep green zone over here, that's where Bitcoin's still very, very strong. But you're looking for this to work as an oscillator, right? You come into the bottom over here, it oscillates between the bottom and the top, and therefore this is where you'd look to start to scale out of some of your Bitcoin into possibly some altcoins. Or if you have new capital available and you're not going to be messing with your Bitcoin, simply just allocate new capital into the altcoin sector as opposed to into Bitcoin. And we can look at it over the last 90, 60, and 30 days, and you can see that the oscillation is pretty much unanimous. 60 days, it's also all the way down at the bottom. 30 days, it's also all the way down at the bottom and starting to leave that region. So I think good food for thought over here to be focused on these things. What I also had to look at over here is on Total 3. How long did it take before Total 3, following the halving cycle, actually started to mark up? Mark up meaning get aggressive towards the upside. Now, this is a little bit subjective. You can give or take this, whether it's going to be this candle. I would say that the sentiment would have really started to shift on this particular candle over here, which would be 34 bars. Now, if you measure from there to 34 bars, well, where would that take you? 34 bars would say that, well, this is where things start to get really, really exciting. 34 bars takes you to 16th of December. So leading into Q4 is really where you might start to see these altcoins pick up momentum and start to maybe breach the top side over here of the range high buy with a proper breakout, sending it towards 1.25 trillion. That's where the altcoin sector really rallies. And then you'd be looking for some great moves within the altcoin sector. So ultimately, maybe something like this, chop about over here, form a major low, and then break above. And then that's where things start to get really exciting. Rallying up for the rest of the cycle, which we've marked out, would probably end around anywhere between August and November 2025. Probably May, I'll start to get really, really conservative and take a lot off the table, but with the expectation that the high probability zone for the end of this crypto cycle would be August to November. So that's additional food for thought that you can focus on. Now we can look at some coins over here that could be lining up for decent moves. Now A0 is one of them that I'm looking at. Why? Because it's one of the first EVM compatible super chain coins with ZK privacy. So if that narrative starts to run with ETH and the ETH higher beta plays, I think this one could possibly do well as call it an ETH L2 pump. It still is forming that bullish power of 3 formation, right? Where you have a long-term accumulation, you have a manipulation phase below the bottom of the range. And then when you break that downsloping channel over here, get back inside the range, that's where you start to look for major expansion. Now, these things do take time to play out, but I think it's one to at least keep on your watch list over there. That's one coin. The other one that's been pumping, of course, is Tron, right? These are the fees earned on all the various different chains versus Tron. Tron literally absolutely smashing everything, including ETH, Lido Finance, Uniswap, Flashbots, Bitcoin, Solana. All these big chains over here getting absolutely annihilated by Tron. Now, Tron is one that we spoke about months ago before anyone else did. You're starting to see the tweets come out, right? Tron is more deflationary than ETH. Ultrasound money got nothing on Justin Sun. Ultrasound money. I mean, these are the types of tweets that are coming out now on Tron. We can have a look at the chart. This is what your chart looks like. And we identified a long time ago that something was cooking under the hood, because it's pretty much just been an up-only chart, right? Became range-bound over there. I spoke with the whale room community about looking for entries somewhere around the range low, at least as a little bit of a gamble, because we all know that Justin Sun is, typically not in the limelight in a good way with the masses, but nevertheless, the chart is looking good. So maybe something is brewing over there. And ever since then, you've already had a 46% move towards the upside. This is now broken out, strong candle close above, and the meme coin sector on Tron seems to be absolutely exploding. But I don't want you guys to become exit liquidity, so please do be careful if you're dabbling in the Tron ecosystem. Look for solid entries, manage your risk as well as price moves up, and just take it easy over there. We'll see what happens as this develops, but this is a pretty substantial move over here, and it does look set to continue, at least on the actual Tron coin or TRX. Based AI as well, I just wanted to touch base on this one. This one is, it says a scientist net ends in preparation for the brain burn. Based AI will be conducting a final test of the network's ability to mirror Ethereum for complex multi-owner brain updates. Now, this is also one of the charts that looks similar to ETH BTC, right? You have price coming into a major support level in a falling wedge formation over here, looking for the possibility to break that long-term trend line. And this is kind of unanimous across the board. If you go scale through and look at all the various different charts, you'll see a lot of this over here. Major support, falling wedge formation, reaching the apex, looking for some of these things to start to break. So maybe, just maybe, we'll start to see Bitcoin dominance break down, and then the inverse will take place on a whole lot of these coins. And whenever you look at based AI, you have to look at Pepe coin. This is not the normal Pepe that you would see on Binance or on BitGet, for example. This is actually Pepe coin, which was created, I think, all the way back in, it was either 2013 or 2016, but many years before the other Pepe coin that most of you guys know. And ultimately, by staking based AI with the whole brain system that they're talking about, you also receive Pepe coin. So they work hand in hand, and it's got a similar formation coming into the bottom over here, $2. I think that's pretty fair value if this is actually going to be a successful project long term. So those are some of the coins that I'm looking at. We know that some of the other top picks are, for example, we have Giga. We've been looking at a whole lot of different coins over here. This is now Sundog. Sundog, of course, is the project with Justin Sun, right? So Sundog named after Justin Sun. and part of the Tron ecosystem. And this is what the chart looks like, right? So been super, super strong, literally gone from pretty much super low market cap. I don't know, I think it was $30 million market cap straight to $200 and almost $50 million market cap overnight. Don't get your fingers burnt too quickly on something like this. If you look at the base where the majority would have got in, well, they are up about 350%. So maybe DCAing in, maybe if you want a little bit of exposure, not a bad idea, but I wouldn't ape everything I've got into something like this. If Tron keeps pushing up, probably the ecosystem plays do continue to rally, and it looks like Sundog is one of the top picks over there. Also, I wanted to speak about this tweet from 𝗕𝗢𝗡𝗧 on a little bit of a more serious note, right? EU threatens to ban X, so Twitter X, if Elon Musk does not implement censorship on the platform, right? Which is absolutely crazy. And this is a quote from him: "Will impose total dismantling of the platform." So it says over here, the EU Commission will ask continental operators to block X, or in the most extreme cases, will impose that total dismantling of the platform. So crazy, crazy times that we live in when it comes to freedom of speech. What I wanted to mention over here is, it's up to you guys to protect your capital. It's up to you to protect your name as well. And for those of you in the EU, unfortunately, one of the only ways it looks like that you're probably going to be able to use X is with a VPN. If you do want to sign up with our VPN, you're getting 70% off, 73. There is a link in the description below. All right, let's continue. Let's go into some of the altcoin requests. So we've had a look at Tron. We can have a look at TON. Let's see what TON's doing over here. So still holding up over there around the mid-range. Let's quickly see Solana. How's Solana looking? Still also range-bound. Really boring over there on Solana. Same thing on SUI. Pretty boring. Casper, also range-bound. If you get a move back down over here, I would have bids laid around 14 cents for Casper. I think that's a decent zone. We can look at the rest of them. How's Atom doing? Okay, still struggling. Pretty much been smashed over here. Maybe, just maybe, this is also some form of a power of 3, right? With a long-term accumulation, manipulation below, reclaim back into the range, and then you can start to look for expansion. But right now, this is downtrending. There's no doubt about that. Atom has been absolutely smashed. So I prefer to be holding the coins that are uptrending. Okay, we have Mantra coming into a pretty significant level over here. So this is the zone. You definitely want to start to see price getting moving over here. This has been downtrending for quite a long period of time, right? Since the top over there, which we actually identified in that circled area. I don't know if you guys remember, that was the 1.618 fib extension. We said that was the profit-taking zone. And so far, that proved to be a really good call, because since then, well, we can actually measure since the wick high over there as well as the timing. Since then, price has come down 40%, and timing wise, it's spent almost exactly a month, right? 31 days from top all the way down to bottom over here. And this is the zone where you want to see it bounce. You have met the middle of the trend line. You can probably also mark out your mid-range level, which is going to be just a little bit below that. I really wouldn't want to see it break this trend line. If it can get moving today, then it would start to look good for a higher low, and then it should move up very, very quickly from that spot. But you would still need to be careful, even if it does move up, that you don't get some sort of a complacency bounce, right? Because this is a lot of pent-up liquidity, right? A long, super long trend line over here with longs, which would be raising their stop losses or trailing their stop loss all the way up, which means a lot of liquidity if price does come down. So, all right, what else do we have? Let's have a look. Okay, 𝗕𝗢𝗓. I see there is a question on 𝗕𝗢𝗓, and I've been seeing a lot of conversation around the DeFi sector, right? So let's quickly have a look at 𝗕𝗢𝗓. The DeFi sector seems to be, at least in terms of the narrative on Twitter, seems to be heating up. This has also been a very long-term accumulation range. Of course, it's had a big push up like it did before above the top side of the range, and then got slammed down. So I'm not really too convinced on this one yet. There is a little bit of a shift in structure with higher highs and high lows, but it's still kind of choppy and sloppy. So I think there are better coins out there, but nevertheless, that's one to look at. The other one we may as well look at is Curve. I've been seeing a lot of talk on Curve. Let's see what the Curve chart actually looks like. Okay, so also absolutely smash. You do have a very, very long term. I'll probably just make this a little bit bigger so that those of you on mobile can see your similar pattern to what we've seen in a lot of the other coins, right? So we can probably tighten that up a little bit. But There you go. Still, at the end of the day, this is lower lows and lower highs, right? And I don't know. Again, I think there's better coins to be trading out there, but maybe, just maybe, this is some massive falling wedge that's going to break out towards the upside. Right now, I don't see it. I don't see this as a phenomenal risk to reward trade, because this was the previous lows you actually broke below. That's now your ultimate lows. And that means that there is a massive amount of people that are underwater on this trade. So we'll have to see. We'll monitor that. Is DeFi back? Let's see what Phantom looks like. Okay, also still downtrending, still not looking good in my personal opinion. Let's go to some of the coins that are previously listed as decent coins and see how they're doing. We haven't checked in on them for a long time. Maker was one of them. Has it still maintained its uptrend? That is the question. Okay, high highs, high lows. Push back into the bottom of the range over there. Same zone, more or less. We said if this continues to outperform, this is probably one that you want to look at in terms of a high beta play against Ethereum, right? Every time Ethereum moves, MakerDAO moves alongside Ethereum, but much more. Okay, let's see. Injective, let's go to Injective. And we'll move to the top by the layer ones. Okay, there we go. Okay, also, I mean, still downtrending as well, still downtrending, not looking too great. Look, I think a lot of these coins will need a little bit more time. That's new swing lows. I don't see any major bid over there. Let's look at 𝗬𝗢𝗓, and then we'll go look at Rune as well. All right, there's 𝗬𝗢𝗓. Okay, 𝗬𝗢𝗓 starting to reclaim a key level over here. This is your range low at $22. So theoretically, you can view that as a range reclaim, but you still do have lower lows and lower highs. So you've got a lot of work to do here to break out from that level. Rune also hit our level at 297. Had you bought at that level, which we outlined, we said there was going to be a sweep of that, you'd still be up 30%, almost 40% to the top over there. And same thing as 𝗬𝗓, needs to spend a little bit more time here, probably needs to come down, form a high low, and then look for the next move up to start to shift the momentum. Okay, let's see what else. What else have we got? We looked at 𝗓 before. 𝗓 is not looking too great. It's got a lot of work to do as well. The other one that we looked at that was a good coin was Banana. Here we go. I said if you do get Banana near the range low, that's a great opportunity over there. You've just hit the top of the range high, so be patient on this. It might not come all the way down to range low. Mark off your mid-range level as well, which is going to be coming in at 43 for Banana Gun. If you start to form a higher low over there, that's probably going to be the area to bid, and then you're looking for trend continuation. So this is one similar to Tron that we actually outlined a very, very long time ago while most people were sleeping on it. It was forming higher highs and higher lows. Look, this is still theoretically a higher low in comparison to the last major zone, but you have broken the momentum line, which is running towards the top side. You have confluence if you consider this a deviation back in. You have confluence at that mid-range zone lining up with that. So you can see that 43.50 is going to be quite an important area. Okay, let's see. What else have we got? Okay, 𝗕𝗓𝗓 is still suffering over there. Still suffering. We'll see if JP of ThorChain can pull some magic around this one since he's taken over it. It is getting smacked. Okay, Astro. Let's see Astroport. All the way at the bottom of the range low. Also got a lot of work to do. Strong downtrend over there. The other one that I want to have a look at is, where's this tweet? Let me just quickly see. I saw a tweet over here, which I thought would be worth bringing up. Let's pull this into the show. Okay, so I saw this tweet over here. And where are our charts? There we go. There we go. NVIDIA earnings are in 8 days. Go look at what 𝗕𝗢𝗡 did the last couple of times that NVIDIA had earnings. I'm not going to be able to go back and look at what 𝗕𝗢𝗡 did with all the NVIDIA earnings, but I can quickly have a look at 𝗕𝗢𝗡 and we can see what the chart looks like now, just in case there is anything interesting developing over here. So it did hit major support, big push up, came down, set in a high low, theoretically on a closing basis. Another big push up over here. As it currently stands, I just view this as range bound, right? So here are your clear range levels. We'll zoom in. We can also tighten this up a little bit now that the price action's unfolded. So there's your clear range levels. Break and get above this zone over here, and then 𝗕𝗢𝗡 should get going. but you've broken your momentum line towards the downside. At least that's your first good sign, and give it a little bit of time depending on what Bitcoin does. If Bitcoin gets above, of course, the all-important $63,000, this probably breaks above the range high, and then off you go. Okay, we can look at Aptos as well. I see that's one of the questions over there. Aptos, I know it's one of Arthur Hayes' most bullish picks, but I think the last time that we looked at it, we said that the chart is not in agreement, or at least his theories have not caught up to the chart yet, because pretty flat, right? Still pretty flat over here. You are forming high lows, so you hit the range low, big push up. This is your first high low. So in theory, I mean, if you wanted to be long on something like this, invalidation would simply just be below those levels. So you'd be looking at this. There you go. Let's just say hypothetically you entered over here and you want a super tight stop. You can stop out. There you go. Let's move it up a bit. Stop out below those daily candles, trade it all the way back to the top side of the range. If you do start to break out, then you can start to work on your next levels, which is going to be your major resistance at about 13. So that's one trade idea over there. Okay, that is Aptos. Okay, AVAX. We can have a look at AVAX. Guys say pumping nicely. Remember, you are going to have underside resistance coming in over there. This is downtrending as well. You did hit a key level, which was your mid-range. This is what a lot of the coins look like, by the way. I want to outline on AVAX over here. This is something that I spoke about when AVAX was in this falling wedge formation. Once you started to break over here, this was the signal for the long trade. So there you got it. This was the signal for the long trade. And had you taken that trade, it still provided some really, really big moves, right? You had 361%. Maybe you see something similar on a lot of those altcoins. But now this has been downtrending once again. It's got a lot of work to do. At least get above the green zone before you start to get too excited. And then most notably above 33 to shift structure completely, creating a higher high over there. All right, guys, I also do want to just mention before we go into any more altcoin requests, please protect your capital, right? There is a link in the description below that will take you to the official ledger page as we heat up and we start to move into this final leg of the bull run. So let's go into this chart over here. As we move into this phase, this is where the hackers come out in full force, right? This last phase over here, I'm going to highlight it. When you start to lead into that markup phase, so we said possibly from about December into the end, this is where the hackers come out in full force. This is where all the criminals come for your coins. And this is where you need to start being ultra careful, right? They come out of the woodworks like cockroaches. So please protect yourself. Get a ledger. There's the new ones that are out, Ledger Stacks, Ledger Flex. Not to say that you need these, but if you want an iPhone-like experience, these ones provide that. The difference between the two of these over here is this one's bigger in terms of the screen size. It's also thinner and lighter. It fits in like a little credit card stack. It's like putting two metal credit cards next to each other. And then on top of that, you can store NFTs and everything. It gives you an iPhone-like experience. You have over here Bluetooth and everything. But at least have this, right? At least have even the literal baby one over here. I've got from the first one from like 2017, I have this one over here and I have this one over here now, which is currently on its way. There's a link below. Protect your assets, guys. Please protect your assets. Do not, the worst thing that can happen to you. Have you ever felt that feeling where you lose your phone, right? You lose your iPhone or whatever mobile device you have, and that shock that you feel. Imagine losing all of your crypto. So don't go through that. All right, let's go. Any other requests over there? Let's see. Chainlink. Okay, we can go to Chainlink. All right, Chainlink. It's come all the way back down to the bottom of the range. This one was similar to the AVAX trade, right? Once it started to break out, you confirmed the deviation below. Big move towards the upside. Got thrown all the way back down to the bottom. It needs time. I can't see that this will V-shape. It's probably going to range for quite a long period of time. And I think this is the decent zone. If you want it for the long term, getting your entry right on this exact trend line. Mark this off on your chart as a limit order. $8.90. If you want Chainlink in your portfolio, $8.90. I do believe eventually you're going to see another wick back down into that zone. That's going to be a good area to get an entry in. Okay, let's go. You said Popcat. We can have a look at Popcat. Okay, let's go back to the memes. So Brett over there starting to push up. I do think that this wick will still get taken out, right? Even though it looks like, a major bull trap scenario over here. I do think that this will continue to just push towards the upside. That was really one of the ultimate entries. Giga, very, very strong. This is probably your high low in the making. So I'll showcase it to you like this. There you go. Got lows, high low. This is probably your next high low. You're going to march up and take out those highs over there. And then the question around that was PopCat, right? I think very decent zone for PopCat. Personally, I've loaded up PopCat on the dip over here. I'm looking for higher prices on PopCat. I'm also viewing, similar to the other coins, low, high, low, and I'm waiting for this to push up. I do still have capital available, so please don't think that, I'm all in on the market. I am still looking to deploy more slowly but surely. I'm taking a little bit of a safer approach, waiting for more confirmation with a break above $63,000 because as I've shown you, we need to assess what happens when you break above $63,000 because there is still the possibility that, like I said over here, you have a symmetrical triangle that's forming over here, and you might just do something like this. And if that happens, I don't know what we're going to do, guys. It's going to be so boring. If you think it's boring now, if we reach this apex like this without taking out any of these levels where we're stuck between $57,000 and $67,000, a $10,000 range, it's going to be incredibly boring. But the good news is that you can actually work out the next measured move. Should that be the case, we go from the base over here to the top and we can copy paste that. When you do eventually break out of that, well, that would take Bitcoin all the way up to about $113,000. So a lot of food for thought over there and a lot to do, right? Prepare, join Whale School, prepare yourself. I've re-recorded the first lesson over there, so you should be getting some new up-to-date information. The link's in the description below. And for the rest of you, I will see you later on when we do go live on the first welcome event this evening. I hope you all have a great day and cheers for now.